Hello everyone. Now we are going to start our next topic, that is unit number 4, transpiration. In this topic we are going to discuss regarding these points: introduction of transpiration, definition, types of transpiration, structure of stomata, mechanism of opening and closing of stomata, factors affecting rate of transpiration, significance of transpiration, antitranspirations, and guttation and exudation. So let's start with the introduction of transpiration. See, plant absorb a large amount of water from soil by roots. This absorbed water is carried to the aerial part of plants, and only a fraction, that is 1 to 2% of it, is utilized by plant to perform various biological activities. While most of water, that is about 98 to 99%, is lost in the form of water vapor. From this, it is clear that the total amount of water absorbed by plant exceeds their actual needs. Thus, there is always surplus water in plants. This surplus water is lost from the aerial surface of plants in the form of vapor, and this is called as a transpiration. So, it is a phenomenon of water loss from the plant body. A large amount of water is lost from plants by transpiration. For example, Crotalaria species loses about 27 kilograms of water in its life cycle of 4 to 5 months. In Helianthus anus, that is sunflower, it loses about 56 kilograms of water for the same period. A maize plant, that is Gia maize, may transpire about a barrel of water in its life of a few weeks. A birch tree, that is Betula pendulata, with 2 lakh leaves, transpire about 300 to 400 kilogram water during summer in a day. Whereas beech tree, that is Ficus species, loses around 75 kg of water per day during summer. A beech maple forest of 400 to 600 trees evaporates about 20,000 barrels of water per day. And this data regarding loss of water indicates the physiological importance of transpiration in life of plant. Thus, during transpiration, water is lost in the form of vapor. In short, we can summarize or we can define transpiration as the loss of water in the gaseous form from aerial parts of plant is known as transpiration. Or we can say water is lost from a plant primarily in form of vapor through the process of transpiration. Or we can say evaporation of water from the surface of aerial parts of the plant is called as a transpiration. So, a large amount of water is absorbed from the soil by roots, and only a small and required amount of this enters into the composition of photosynthetic product. And maximum water is lost by aerial parts of the plant in the form of invisible water vapors, and this evaporation of water from the surface of aerial part of plant is also called as a transpiration. So, transpiration is not a purely physical process, but it is a vital phenomenon which is regulated and controlled by living cells. Transpiration may be demonstrated by keeping a potted plant under a glass bell jar. So, let's see the demonstration of transpiration. See, transpiration can be demonstrated by keeping a potted jar under a glass bell jar. The soil in the pot is watered and the pot is covered with rubber or polythene sheets to prevent evaporation from them. After some time, drops of water will appear on the inner surface of jar, and this water has come from aerial parts of plant. For example, look at here, the pot is watered, and the water absorbed by the root of this plant come to the aerial part, like for example leaf, and from these leaves the water is evaporated, but as we have covered this pot with rubber or polythene, it cannot escape from this polythene, so it is get condensed on here on the surface of polythene or on the surface of a bell jar. So it gives an idea, or it demonstrates that the transpiration is happen, and it is a loss of water from the plant body in the form of vapors of aerial parts. Okay. So next point from this topic is types of transpiration. As you can see on the screen, there are three main types of transpiration: lenticular transpiration, cuticular transpiration, and stomatal transpiration. So most of the transpiration takes place from the leaves, which is known as a foliar transpiration. Foliar means leaves. Though water is also lost from stem, flower and fruits, etc. Transpiration may take place through cuticles, lenticels and stomata, and based on these, the transpiration is of the following three types, that is lenticular, cuticular and stomatal transpiration. Now, one by one, we will discuss regarding each type of transpiration. So, first of all, we will discuss regarding cuticular transpiration. Look at the diagram. So, epidermis is having a thick waxy cuticle. So let's see. When water is lost through cuticle, it is called as a cuticular transpiration. Cuticle is a waxy coating or layer present on the epidermis of leaves and herbaceous stems. So cuticle is mainly meant to prevent loss of water from plant, but water is lost through it when there are some cracks in it and when it is in the form of thin layer. Nearly 5% of water is lost through cuticle. As cuticle is impervious to water, it does not allow water to pass through it easily. Hence, cuticular transpiration is inversely proportional to the thickness of cuticle. That means when cuticle is thick, there is transpiration is very low. When cuticle is thin, there are chances of high transpiration. That's why we call it as a cuticular transpiration is inversely proportional to the thickness of cuticle. Plant exposed to sunlight have thick cuticle, while the plant in shaded areas have thin cuticles. Cuticle is present in herbaceous stem, flower parts and fruits. And generally, xerophytic plants have a very thick cuticle to avoid transpiration. Xerophytic plants are present in a very low humidity or high temperature region. In high temperature region, so there is a thick cuticle to plants in this region, so as to save the water loss from the plant body. Otherwise, plant will get wilt. So this is regarding cuticular transpiration. We can summarize this as a transpiration that occurs through the cuticle or cracks of cuticle layer of leaves and stem is said to be cuticular transpiration, and this is a day-night process, and in this process about 5 to 10% water is given out in the form of vapor. Okay, next one. The next type of transpiration is called as a lenticular transpiration. Look at the diagram which gives the structure of lenticels. When transpiration takes place through lenticels, it is called as a lenticular transpiration. In woody plants, after secondary growth, the epidermis is replaced by peridermis, to which we can call it as a cork, whose outer layer consists of a dead cells, to whom we call it as a cork tissue. Thus, lenticels are the slits in bark of woody plants which are filled with loosely arranged cells known as complementary cells. Now, look here. These are the lenticels. These are loosely arranged complementary cells. Okay. Water vapor escapes from these complementary cells of lenticels, and lenticular transpiration occurs in the stem of woody trees and fruits. It is quite negligible because the amount of water transpired through lenticels is about 0.1% of the total loss of water by the whole plant. Look at the diagram at the when below the lenticel, okay, look at the diagram. When cork or epidermis is get breaked, then the complementary cells which are in contact with conducting tissue, these complementary cells loses water through this ruptured epidermis, or we can call it as a lenticels. So this is all about lenticular transpiration. The water transpired through this is very small in amount. For example, 0.1% of total loss of water by the whole plant. So next, that is stomatal transpiration. Look at the diagram here. There is a structure of stomata when in open and closed condition. So this is the open stomata, this is the closed stomata, and this is third one, that is tears of leaf, showing the stomatal transpiration. Okay, so now when loss of water through stomata is called as a stomatal transpiration. Generally, stomata are the minute pores or opening present in the epidermis of leaves, as we all know that. Generally, the number of stomata is more on lower surface of leaves, but in monocot such as grasses, they are equally in number on upper and lower surface. In aquatic plant as Pistia, Ecornia, they are present only on the upper surface of leaves. Stomatal transpiration is lowest when stomata are fully closed, and it is rapid when stomata are fully open. So, stomata occupies about 1 to 2% of total leaf area. About 80 to 90% of water is lost by stomatal transpiration, and thus leaves are the main transpiring organs and stomata are the main pathway for the loss of water from the surface of leaves. So look at the diagram, tears of leaf. You can see the cuticle, the outermost thick layer present on the epidermis is called as a cuticle, because this is the tears of leaf. There is upper epidermis as well as lower epidermis. Upper epidermis, it is covered with a cuticle. Lower epidermis is also covered with cuticle, but at some places there is a presence of stomata. Okay, this is the space, this is a pore, it is called as a stomatal pore. Okay, so through this stomatal pore, water escapes into the atmosphere in the form of vapor. So look at this, look at the diagram. This is the upper epidermis. At below there is a lower epidermis, and the middle tissue is called as a mesophyll, a site of photosynthesis. In this mesophyll there is a conducting tissue is present, as well as towards the lower epidermis there is a presence of air cavities. This space is called as a air cavity. Generally gaseous exchange इथून होते, so that's why it is called as a air cavity. When excess amount of water is escaped, water comes from conducting tissue in this space, and from this space, when stomata are closed, this water goes outside and loss of water happens in the form of vapor. So it is called as a stomatal transpiration. Okay, This is all about stomatal transpiration. This is the structure of stomata. When stomata are open, the middle portion, this one, white color, you can see the stomatal pore name has given. From this stomatal pore, from the water get evaporated or water is lost. It happens during daytime, when stomata open during daytime, while in night time, when there is absence of light, stomata get closed, and at that time the transpiration stops. So I would like to stop here, as we have discussed what is meant by transpiration as well as types of transpiration. The next points we will discuss in next video. Thank you.